Hi everyone, my name is Caitlin Zarzar, and for this Kaleideum at Home activity, we will be focusing on Mars, the red planet. If you didn't know, NASA's Mars exploration program launched the Perseverance rover and the Ingenuity helicopter on July 30th, 2020. The trip to Mars takes about 7 months, landing on the 18th of February of 2021 in the Jezero crater, right about there. Now, the mission of the Perseverance rover and its main job is to look for ancient signs of life and collect samples of rocks and soil for the possible return to Earth for studying. And speaking of rocks and soil, have you ever wondered why Mars is red? Well, that's what we're going to focus on today in this activity. We will be creating our very own Martian soil. So for this activity, all you will need is some sand, any kind of play sand, a scoop, some steel wool, the kind without any of the chemicals, some water, and 3 bowls that are about the same size. Now, the reason why Mars is red is because the soil on Mars is very rocky like here on Earth, but it contains a lot of iron, like our steel wool here. When we break apart our steel wool, we see all these little metal strings. Those metal strings are actually iron. And when iron combines with the oxygen in the air and water, it creates something called iron oxide, or also known as rust. And rust has this reddish, kind of brownish color that the color of Mars is. So what do you think Mars is doing? It's rusting because Mars's soil and its sand is actually made up of a lot of different types of iron. And there's a teeny tiny bit of oxygen and a teeny tiny bit of water vapor in its air. So when that combines with the iron in its soil, it's actually going to create a reddish brown iron oxide color, which is going to kind of throw up in the air. And that's why we get this hazy reddish brown color on Mars. So let's get started. What you have to do is just grab a scoop of sand, about 1 cup of sand per bowl. We're going to try to make these pretty equal so we have the same kind of experiment going on in 3 different cups. But we're going to do something a little bit different in each one of these cups or bowls. I'm going to add just a little more to that one, just like that. So we have about a cup of sand in each one of our bowls here. Then we're going to start to tear up our steel wool here. And I like to break it into kind of good pieces. And in our first bowl here, I'm just going to mix it up in our sand. And the sand is going to be our Martian soil. That's what we're going to pretend is our Martian soil for this experiment. And we're going to put our steel wool right on top in that first bowl. Now in our second bowl here, we're just going to keep it just this sand. In our third bowl here, I'll put a little bit more of our steel wool, about the same amount as I had before. So just enough to cover that bowl like this. In our next step, I am going to take my water, and in our first bowl here, I'm going to cover the sand with enough water and cover the steel wool, just so there's enough water to make the sand damp, but not enough water to make it look like a puddle or very soaking wet. The next one is just our sand, and I'm going to add water to it. Just enough to cover that sand, and you'll be able to see the water kind of percolate through that sand. And the last one, we're not going to add any water. We're going to keep that one dry. So what we're looking at here is a bowl of sand, steel wool, and water, a bowl of just sand and water, and a bowl that's dry, no water, but with the steel wool and the sand. Now, the next part's going to take some patience. We are going to wait 3 days for our Martian sand to do something very amazing. But I want you to grab a piece of paper, and I want you to start taking observations. So label your bowls 1, 2, and 3. And it doesn't matter what order it is, just so you know, you need to write down what you put in each one of your bowls. And then every single day, check back on your bowls, put them in an area where they're not going to be disturbed, and see what's happening. Notice any color changes. Notice if there's any water left. If the water evaporated out of your bowl or disappeared, add a little bit more water to those bowls that had the water, but keep that third one dry. And so observe what's happening. Take notes on what's happening over the next 3 days, And I'll come back and show you what happens to my experiment over my 3 days here at Kaleideum. I'll see you then.